welcome to Let's Talk Tunnelling. Today's episode we have Liam Carew. Kia ora, bro.
Kia ora, brother.
Liam, thanks, man. I do know you finally got up here to work on this project up here. So it's good that you're not on your break. You're on your weekend off, obviously, but
Yeah.
thanks for coming along, man.
No, pleasure.
I've known you for 14 years now, since Clem 7, but I didn't realise where you're from back home. Do you mind giving us a bit of an intro
Yep.
on where you're from?
Yeah, so I grew up in Nelson, New Zealand, as top of the South Island. Born and bred there, and I moved over here. I think it was 2001. Yeah. So.
What put you over here?
More so just a change, and I love my footy, playing league. So I come over here and played league, and gave that a crack and played a couple of years, and then my father-in-law was in the tunnelling in Sydney. He was on the Lane Cove tunnel, and he was always telling me, get into tunnelling. So once it come here to that Clem 7, I went and seen the superintendent and handed him my resume, and 2 weeks later I got a phone call for a start.
So he was in Sydney, your father-in-law,
Yep.
And then you come here to Brizzy though, to play league, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You didn't want to come down to Sydney? Or you were doing all right here?
No, I was doing it right here, yeah. Me and my partner were based here, and Sydney, it wasn't really on the radar. Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
First tunnel job was that one you handed your resume into, eh? What was that job?
So that was Clem 7. Probably took me about 2 weeks to actually finally see the super, and rocked in with my resume and tickets, and and they said, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I said, "I drive a gantry crane." And he goes, "Good, that's what we're looking for." And called me up 2 weeks later.
Had you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Not to run that scale though, but yeah, I have. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right
I
then.
was qualified.
I remember years ago when I first come over, if you had a Kiwi passport, you could operate anything.
Yeah.
You didn't run with that rule, did you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, that's all right. Things must have changed. Good one. Hey, Clem 7, massive job, I believe. Like your father-in-law, we were down in Sydney, tunneling away down there on some big jobs, but coming up to that Clem 7 was pretty massive. What was your initial thoughts? And I suppose you knew he was in the tunnelling, but you didn't know much about it, or what?
No, I didn't know much about it. He would explain it, and I'd try and visualise it. But it wasn't until I actually got down there. It was another world. I knew this is what I wanted to do, and just seeing all the big machines down there and operating, and it was a massive eye opener for me.
Yeah.
And so I was on the gantry crane for probably only a few weeks. They weren't going to go to this roster, so they put me down with the ball gang, and that I was working with my father-in-law then, and he sort of showed me the ropes, from services. I'm going, doing your services, running your services, keeping them up to the road header crews, and and although I wasn't involved with the guys at the face, I'd be doing up services and peering over and watching them, and, seeing all the boys, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, good. Hey, you wouldn't have straight out of school though, so you would have, because you were playing footy and rugby and league and all that, or so you wouldn't have been young, or
no, I think I was 26, 27 when I first started in tunnelling, but prior to that, so when I left school, I actually worked out on the fishing boats back home in Nelson, and I think I was on there for about a year or so, and because I was away for probably 2 weeks at a time, didn't work with sports, and I was pretty keen into my touch footy and rugby.
You're pretty good at touch too, eh?
Oh, it was all right. Yeah.
Yeah, you were awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you represented.
I represented New Zealand under 20s back in 2000.
Yeah.
And won the World Cup against Aussie. Yeah. So
Good on you.
Yeah.
And then come here for what, league or union? Or?
I come here for league. Yeah, I come here for league. So back home, it was predominantly rugby union.
Yeah.
We tried to get league up and going, and we did have some good comps, but we'd have to go down to Christchurch and play in their comp.
Yeah.
Which was really, it was pretty tough. But I've always had a passion for the league, more so rugby union. So when I come over here, I went and played at a club in Brisbane and had a couple of seasons there, and just getting injured and having time off work.
Yeah.
So time off work, not getting paid, and sort of had to. I knew I wasn't going to make a career out of it at that stage. So had to think about what I was going to do, and I was driving forklift and wasn't happy with that, so did a personal training course and got qualified as a personal trainer and found out I didn't want to do that. And then that's when my father-in-law said, you should get tunnelling to go. So I haven't looked back since.
Good, eh? Well, that's a career and a half anyway.
It is,
and by the sounds of it, you've done pretty well out of it.
Done pretty well out of it. Yeah, definitely.
So getting that start through your father-in-law, you rocked up to Clem.
Yep.
Went down on the service crew. Oh, you started on the gantry crane.
Yep.
Who were you with on that gantry crane?
There was three of us there. So there was one that I probably stuck out the most. He's passed away now. It was Carew. He showed me a lot, and with fishing as well. He was a keen fisherman, so we always talk about fishing all the time. But he showed me the ropes, actually showed me the ropes of the gantry and taught me a bit. So it didn't last long though. Yeah, as I said, they weren't going to go to that third roster, so I went down into the tunnel with the boys on the ball gang.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Would you look back at that time there as starting a tunnelling career? Because do you consider yourself a tunneler man? Like you've done work outside tunnelling prior to starting. What do you consider yourself now?
Definitely tunneler, no doubt about it. I've tried in between tunnels a couple of months, just doing other civil works and stuff like that, and it's just different. It's tunneling, it's once you're down there, you know yourself, it's just a different world, and it's what I know, it's what I got a passion for it, so yeah.
That Clem 7 job, I remember it being pretty full on for me. I'd sort of stepped away from the face myself and went into another career as an electrician and a tradesman, but knowing quite a few of the boys at the face and the work involved, what was your first thoughts?
I was just blown away just by just the machineries, really. You got the big dump trucks and the road headers at the face, cutting away at the face and advancing, and just their sequence. Once they finish their cut, going into bolt, support your roof, and then spraying it, shockreading, and then once I seen the shockreader, I thought, wow, that's awesome. I took a shine to that and started offsiding the guys on the shockread rig, and then it wasn't too long after that I was on the controls, and so
I suppose that's the thing about tunneling too. If you show interest for something and you can, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think no one asked me. I went out on my way and always asked them questions, and you know, I just kept bugging them, you know, what's this one here for? What's that one for? And, you know, why are you putting that on? And just understanding what they're actually doing, I think, yeah. But, I think people sort of turned their nose up at shotcreting, you know.
I did.
Yeah. And,
That's one thing I never really took a shine to be honest.
Yeah. And
Nelson boys must like it, eh?
Yeah, must do.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So, because you've done a few jobs now, but when you first rocked up and you took a shine to shotcreting and you were involved in the ground support, did you know how important it is back then? Did you know the processes, like even you're saying the road header, cutting, bolting, and then you coming in and spraying? What was do you remember your thoughts back there, or was it just turn up and do a job? What were you...
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, I suppose, like, at the start, I probably didn't really understand, you know, the actual engineering of it, like, you know, what you're actually doing, until later on as I got more involved with the final lining of the shotcreting, and just understanding it all, like with the fibres, you know, mixing all the fibres with the concrete, and just gaining, you know, what's it actually doing with the strength, and, you know.
Can you talk about this final lining? So what's final lining?
Okay, so and part of that Clem 7 tunnel was shotcrete. So with final lining shotcrete, it's either sprayed or it's arch lining. In our area on the on ramps was shotcreted instead of arch form. So we did slip form up to the corbels and then sprayed the roof with shotcrete.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of the actual full arch form.
So you've got your tunnel, and so what did you say the corbels?
Yeah, so the corbels halfway up the roof.
So you got the side, you got the floor.
Yep.
Okay, and then you've got the side walls.
Yep.
What do you call them?
So you call them your ribs.
Ribs.
Yep. Ribs coming up, and then the corbel was probably halfway up, and that was like steps out, and that was for the floating roof later on for the smoke ducts.
Right, and then they come back and form a roof, put a concrete, formwork to build concrete roof for our.
Yeah.
So then your corbel, and then you've got this arch that forms the roof.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So what part did you do the final lining in? Did you say?
So it was the arch.
Oh, the arch.
Yeah. So you did you had the forms that come up to the corbels, and they just concrete.
Yeah.
Poured concrete down and like a slip form, and then from there you did your waterproofing.
Yeah.
Up to the whole roof, and then down to your toes, and then that's when we applied our final lining shotcrete smoothing layer. Shotcrete. Yeah.
You talked about fibres, and what's
so the fibres give shotcrete strength. So you can either have steel fibres or
so that's embedded in the concrete itself. Eh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Just give it strength.
Yeah. So spraying the final lining, but even spraying while you're advancing forward as your excavation. So when you say final line, you've already sprayed before that. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So final lining is final lining. So nothing else goes over it. But prior to that, you've got shotcreting after you advance on the face.
Yeah. So they come in with a road header, cut the ground out, and then you said before we come in with a bolter and we pin all the bolts up so we secure the rocks together and all the roof and everything like that. And then you came in as a shotcreter and sprayed a thickness.
Yeah, usually around 50 to 100 mil.
Yeah.
Just to give us that, the next advancement. So usually you'd have to wait until it reached the MPA.
Yeah. And how far down the wall do you come with that shotcrete? So you've got your roof and your arch. How far do you come down the wall to support the walls?
Okay. Usually you're probably 500 above the toe, the actual toe, the floor. Anything else is more or less a waste, really, because it's just going to get cut out later on.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that bit down there? Do you? I'm just sort of trying to picture it myself now, and I've seen it obviously. And how do you? But I've never been on the shotcrete cruise.
Okay.
How do you get down to that 500, or how do you clear the dirt away to make sure that you get that measurement right?
Yeah. So that's a real good question, because obviously you're not allowed underneath unsupported ground. So you either get your excavators in there to clean it out and hose it right out at the end of it. So once you've hosed it out nice and clean rock, then you apply your shotcrete. But in saying that, you don't go down to the bottom on the first until you've dropped your bench down later on when you come back.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then these tunnels are quite large and high. So what we do is we come in and excavate what we can reach, and then we'll bolt it, and then you come in and spray down to a certain level, and then we'll come back and bench that floor out.
Yep.
And then you'll spray that level.
Yep, that's right.
Right. How important is it to make sure that that level that you come down, especially down to the toes we talk about, which is right down the bottom of that floor, cleaning that area out to be able to get further right down to the. How did you clean those toes out? You come in with an excavator, or
yeah. So we come in with an excavator, especially if you've got different ground support like girders. You have to have that clean, otherwise, the strength in the shotcrete is just going to be no good. It's going to be rebound. You're going to be spraying on dirt.
Yeah.
And it's pretty critical that you get that toe nice and clean. So once you've scraped it out with the excavator, you hose it right down to as low as you can go, really.
Yeah. So getting that dirt away, so when you do shotcrete and spray down, it's actually onto the wall, not onto windrows or
exactly,
dirt.
Yeah, and you've got good compaction there. Yeah.
Okay. Right, that would have been a learning curve, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially your first tunnel job.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, eye opener anyway. Yeah.
But it would have been handy, you being an operator as well, eh? Like having the knowledge and the nous to ask questions, I suppose the right questions, because you wanted to get something done, and asking the right questions or anything like that. Well, what's your advice when someone is coming into a new job? And knowing what questions to ask, or is it just ask away?
Yeah. Don't be shy. You just get in there, have a go, and ask the question. Always ask the question. Yeah.
From that job, where'd you end up from Clem?
From Clem, I went over to the Airport Link tunnel, and straight onto a roadheader crew there as a shotcreter. So that previous to that was that Clem 7, so it gave me that stepping stone to go straight over to the Airport Link as a nozzleman shotcreter.
So these jobs, a lot of people hear about the TBM, which is the tunnel boring machine that cuts the whole diameter out and lays segments and everything like that.
Yep.
Yet you talk about roadheaders and shotcreting on the same jobs that these TBMs are on. How come there's roadheader jobs on these jobs? What are you doing?
Yeah, okay, so TBMs, I haven't really worked on a TBM before, but usually predominantly TBMs are a nice straight line, a few curves in it or not. Roadheaders are more on-ramps, going declines into your tunnel, and on-ramps and off-ramps, so it's just the access.
Why do they use roadheaders then? Why do they use roadheaders instead of getting a little TBM or a TBM that can do an on and off ramp?
So usually the TBMs that come in, they're set diameter for that actual tunnel. So from the mainline tunnels to the on ramps are different diameter. So you'd have to get a whole new TBM, different diameter. So I think it's just easier with the roadheaders.
Yeah.
And especially with the ground, because you're starting from up top, whereas TBM's already down onto that level, just going straight. Yeah.
Explain a roadheader job then, man. Like you're starting off, you've got in a little way. So what's a process? Cut, bolt, spray. Give us an idea of what a shift will do or a crew member would do on a tunnelling on a roadheader.
So depending on the ground, Usually you try and aim for cut a shift, a whole round. That might be 2 or 3 meters advancement. So road header will go in. Different ways to do it. I was taught to start in the middle. Start in the middle so you could utilise your whole radius of your tunnel, of your arm, your boom. Cut that out and go to your 3 meters. Probably just go a bit over, and always start from the bottom, work your way up. That's the way I was taught. Some people do it differently, but works for me. And move to your sides, do them, and then once you finish that, you'll pull out, go in and muck all the dirt out. And depending on your roof support, you'd either shotcrete first or you would bolt first. So whatever the requirements were, you go in there, bolt it, whether it's 2 arrays or using mesh as well, depending on the ground again. And then go in and shotcrete after that.
How do you know? Is it from experience, or how do you know after you pull that road header out what method to use or what ground support?
Yeah, so before we even get to the face, engineers will tell you on your cut sheet, on your excavation permits, what type of ground support you're in.
Yeah.
So
What job were you? What site were you at Airport Link?
I was at Kedron site. Yeah.
And that was road headers.
Yeah, that was road headers. Yeah.
And cutting into cabins. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So we had on and off ramps.
Yep.
And then we had cabins, but there was a busway there as well, wasn't there?
Yes, that was across the road or around near. I think it was up near Truro.
Yeah, Truro Street.
Yeah.
What did you think of that job?
That was awesome. That was good. That was a good job as well. It was different crew and different ways to excavate or shotcrete. So pick up some good habits, bad habits.
Yeah.
But it was an eye opener.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it was good to have that experience with different superintendents as well.
Oh, you had a different superintendent on that job?
Yeah.
What was the best thing you picked up from Clem that you could take over to Airport Link, do you reckon?
It's probably the shotcreting. Yeah, definitely it was the shotcreting, because prior to Airport Link I wasn't on a road head or anything. So once I was on the shotcrete rig, then at Airport Link, just started moving up the chain.
You must have been pretty good, all right, bro.
Oh, this is all right.
No, good on you. So Airport Link, and then what happened? Where'd you end up?
So after Airport Link, there was about a 6-month break after there. So a lot of the guys went mining in different states. I went down Port of Brisbane just on a excavator for about 3 or 4 months, I suppose. Yeah, and hanging out for either the Byron Bay Tunnel or the Legacy Way Tunnel, and moved towards the Byron Bay Tunnel and went on there. So that was a drill and blast tunnel. So I've never done drill and blast as well. So but shotcreting, so I went on there as a shotcreter.
Yeah.
And that was different.
So drill and blast. Explain that?
Okay, so drillers, they get this pattern. So they get given a pattern all on a computer, and they stick to that pattern with drilling longitudinal holes. Once you've got that pattern, you've done all your holes. That drill rig pulls out, and then you get your shot firers coming in, and then they charge the face with explosives. We were doing 5 metre rounds. At that,
so advancing 5 metres. So your holes were 5 metres long.
Just over 5 metres long. Yep.
5 metres long, and then they fill them up with explosives.
Yep. We use emulsion. They brought the shot firers in, filled them up, and then with explosive, and then attached all the debts to it, and
There you go.
let it go, and then we could only blast once a day, and I think there was 8 o'clock in the morning, so we'd be charging at night, get it all ready through the night, and then blast at 8 o'clock.
So Byron Bay job, but Byron Bay tunnels, the one when you're heading down from Brizzy down to Byron Bay, you go through those.
Yeah, so it's so before the turn off to Byron Bay, you used to go over the St Helena Hill.
Yep.
Over the mountain, and it took you like around through Bangalow and a few other little townships, but now it just cuts straight through that St Helena mountain.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they're massive. How many lanes are they?
I think it's 3 lanes each way. Yeah.
So diameter wise,
diameter it was. Well, I forgot now. I think it. Once we blast and the bench, it was 18 metre diameter.
Yep.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
So when you say around, advancing 5 metres?
Yep.
How wide would that round be? Advancing 5, and then how wide would you put all your holes to that pattern at each
Okay,
time?
I'm pretty sure it was 12 metre wide.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'd let 12 metres go and 5 metres advance. So all that would do it would be charged and blown up.
Yep.
And that would be sitting there ready to muck out.
Ready to muck out. Yeah.
So the process, so instead of using a road header,
Yep.
you just used a jumbo or drill rigs, drilled holes, blew it up. All that dirt sitting on the ground, and then you come in.
Yeah, we come in with boggers. We had 2,900 boggers, R29s, and dump trucks. I think we had 40-ton dump trucks in there, 3 of them, and we mucked out 5 metre rounds, and it probably took about 4 hours.
Yeah, so that's your.
It's a pretty big round.
Because you were firing at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
That was your firing time. So your other shifts, the 24-hour operation, like were you working?
It was 24 hours. Yep.
So that to get back to that 8 o'clock, you'd be doing. So hang on. So what's the next process after muck out?
After muck out, we'd go in and scale the face down. So excavator goes in usually with a hammer or a bucket, scales all down the loose rock, and make sure it's all safe to go and not to get within, so survey can go in, shoot, see how our perimeters went off.
I suppose with the explosive, it's a bit more fracture of the ground too, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So when you say scaling, that means going in and getting any loose material off that advancement of that ground that you've advanced forward, isn't it? So you're going up and trying to, we call it scaling, but getting rid of any loose material that's been fractured.
Off all the loose material.
To the profile, or what are we?
Try to, so we had our jumbo operators. They drill a series of holes around your profile, which called your they're called your perimeter holes, and usually they were bang on. Bang on the money. We had some good jumbo operators, and there wasn't too much scaling going on, but yeah.
I suppose the explosives too. It'd be engineered and designed for that ground. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, it's, so that rock down there was basalt, hard basalt. So it was she was pretty hard down there. Radiated with enough coke through it. Yeah.
Is that why they used drill and blast? What?
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
So I know we did a bit of drilling and blasting of the bench at Airport Link A.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but obviously it wasn't a face or anything like what you fellas did down Byron Bay.
Yeah.
And then spray just like we normally would once we muck the dirt out, or bolt.
Yes, yeah. So we went in and bolted mesh in some spots. Yeah.
So that's another process.
It was, it was, and so with they would put in spot bolts. Jumbo operators would put in their spot bolts where the ground was bad, and then they would put on the mesh on top of that, and then pin their mesh with split sets. Yeah, that's
a mining operation. If I've ever heard one. That's that methodology. I suppose they call it now. Flash name for that's how they do it in the mines.
Yep.
Even though we call it tunnelling, but we still use the same method of supporting and everything too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was your position there?
I was shot reader.
Shot creator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Learn much, or did you know?
Yeah, it was. I learned a lot. So as opposed to a roadheader tunnel where your profile is smooth, all you're doing is coming around, staying perpendicular to the tunnel, and then with drill and blast, it's all jagged. So you've got to hit the angles. You know, it's a lot more. It's more of a challenge. So yeah.
It's funny you say that. I remember I'd come from mining, my first tunnel job, and Rod Orman was cutting his first cut for the main line, or I think it was the main line at Cross City Tunnel.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it from a distance because I wasn't on his crew, but I remember watching it from a distance, and when it started cutting, I thought that machine's on fire because it was all the dust.
Oh, okay.
And I remember watching it going, far out, what's wrong with that machine? And then they knocked off because it was only a test.
Yeah.
And they were just starting that road header up, but they all pissed off and went up or went away somewhere, and I shot down to it.
Yeah.
I remember going over to the wall and looking at the profile, and I went over and I touched the wall like this, and I was like, fuck, that's weird. You know, and I remember finishing that shift, and I rung the old man up from the change room, and I said, hey Dad, I said, I'm at this tunnel job and all this, and I said, they've gone down there with this machine, it's got a big rotating head, and it's cut away there, or it rammed its head into this, into the rock.
Yeah.
Looked like it was on fire, and I went down there and it's cut this smooth rock out. And he started pissing himself laughing.
Yeah.
And I said, what's that called? He goes, that's a road header. You know, that's going to cut the tunnel out. And I went to him, what do you mean cut the tunnel out? He goes, that's how they tunnel. And I said, so they're not going to use jumbos and drill and blast? And he goes, no, you can't do that with all the buildings above you and all that. I didn't even think of that, eh?
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
That's right. Yeah.
But I was blown away by that profile too, and it'll probably be a role reversal, me going back to mining and seeing that. Like, I loved the drill and blast.
Yeah.
Like, to me, man, that was
That is awesome.
bread and butter. Yeah, that was awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
And the involvement of the crews around that as well. Like I said, you had some pretty good jumper operators, and I could name quite a few good jumper operators that I've seen in the time, and they were guns, all right. They were Messiahs.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and I never got to that job. Like, I heard that you fellas were down there and you did quite well, and everything like that. So that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, no, it was definitely it was a lifestyle job. Like, I got to move my family down there, and just being on that coast, fishing every day. Wow. Yeah, you didn't catch much. No, I did.
Yeah.
No, it was just an awesome lifestyle for the kids,
Yeah.
Yeah.